First up is Welcome to Dead House. Because apparently the worst part of moving isn't the boxes, it's the undead neighbors. Viewer beware, you're gonna see me review the scare. When I read this book, I learned to stay away from abandoned towns. Goosebumps book number 1, Welcome to Dead House, dropped in 92. The first one, holy crap, if this wasn't spooky fun. It was childhood trauma for those 90s kids, moving to a small town in the middle of nowhere. So, in this story, a family goes to Dark Falls, and everything's weird in Dark Falls. It's an abandoned place. There's like grass all over the fucking streets, so that you know they haven't paved in a while. And the houses are run down, kind of like all these small towns in America now. But also on top of that, the families that live in this town and the townspeople all act weird, like they're not all there. They seem like something's really off with them. They can't really function very well. But Dark Falls has weird, eerie stuff going on there, and it's always dark all the time, even during the day. And let's talk about the cover. Terrifying. I was like 7 staring at this haunted purple crack house thinking, just looks like an ominous like gateway to hell or something like that. And that staircase looks all fucked up like it hasn't been renovated in forever. And you gotta love how the rest of the house doesn't have any lights on. Almost looks like a mouth over here in that creepy ass fucking tree. And you also gotta love when the lights right here are in certain parts. And who the fuck is this guy right here? Is this one of the fucking ghosts or ghouls or zombies or something? I want to know. Might be the realtor, actually. Who fucking knows? Yeah, I know if I was a kid and rolled up to this place, you wouldn't catch my ass in there. You know, it will just kill you. Spoiler warning, you have been warned. So, in Welcome to Dead House, basically the town is just a bunch of undead zombies, and they just want to feed on people. But they're intelligent zombies, kind of like mutated zombies. So I guess they're just undead, but not brain dead. Yeah, they use light to burn the zombies. They get away from the zombies, and then on their way out of town, they notice that another family's moving into town, so the whole process starts all over again in Dark Falls. And then you know R.L. Stine's like, yep, first Goosebumps book. Let's go full undead cannibal town. Mic drop. Pa. This book gave me real trust issues. You know, I'll never go to rundown houses anymore. Even if the porch mat says welcome, I say don't go near that bullshit. Dark Falls. Come for the housing market, stay because you're fucking dead. Back in the 90s, Goosebumps television was pretty much what I watched all the time. Friday, Saturday nights, sometimes it would come on. And this was a 2-part episode, and it definitely was different from the book in a few ways. Won't go into details about that. Just read the book and watch the episode for yourself. But I will say the show, while it was really campy in a lot of cases, it definitely captured the fear of moving to a new town, especially one that's like really creepy. If I were you, I would definitely check out the episode. It's pretty good. And it has a really good twist ending. And that one involving the dog. So I saw this when I was a kid. Back at the book fair back in 1995. Young little me in 1st grade saw this book and I was like, man, I gotta check this out. You know, reading this book when I was a kid, I wondered, was this guy heavily inspired by the George A. Romero movies? And yes, I know who George A. Romero was back then because I was really into zombie movies. Yeah, I was one of those freaks. I love zombie movies. So this definitely helped me get really big into the infection genre. Yeah, this is definitely one of those books that really got me really terrified because this is one of the first children's horror books I ever read where they were actually trying to eat them alive. Like, that's terrifying to me. And that's why I can't watch a lot of those Eli Roth movies is because of that. Especially Green Inferno. Crazy fucking movie, by the way, if you've ever seen it. Honestly, I think that Welcome to Dead House is great. I love the TV show episode. I would highly recommend it. It's one of those things, when I first saw this sitting on the shelf back in the day, going to that book fair, I was like, I gotta have this. And I did. My dad let me get it. And it has that, you know, distinct 90s smell to it, still kind of baked into those pages. Well, thanks for watching. And remember, if your dog starts barking at the walls, it's not a phase, it's fucking happening. Welcome to Dead House. This house runs on dilapidation, ghouls, and property tax fraud. Next up is Stay Out of the Basement, the book that made every parent with a gardening hobby seem vaguely suspicious. Viewer beware, you're gonna see me review the scare. When I saw this cover as a kid, I thought, damn, I'm not eating broccoli ever again. Stay Out of the Basement, Goosebumps book number 2, released in 92. Still one of the most what the fuck covers in the series. Just a juicy green hand reaching up the staircase like it's about to ask you to permanently mow the lawn. So the plot for Stay Out of the Basement. Basically, Dad's gone amok in the basement doing some kind of weird plant experiments. He's acting weird. He's trying to feed his kids plant food. It's really, really bizarre. The kids are trying to figure out what is old dad up to down there in the basement. Also, he has like mood swings and he acts very differently. Ah yes, the book cover. Something's waiting in the dark. Obviously, it's mutated broccoli. Yeah, so when I saw this as a kid, I was like, man, what's going on with this hand right here? Look at this thing, man. It's like swamp things coming out of this fucking place. And look at this old ass door. It must be a door from like the 50s or 60s or something, because they don't make doors like that anymore. And that fucking tiny ass doorknob. I actually had a house that had that shit before. I saw this in the book fair. When I saw this sitting on the shelf, I was just like, damn, dude. I want to know more about what's going on here, because at the time I just watched Swamp Thing, so I honestly thought it was going to be just like that, seeing this goofy ass cover. It also could pass for the Jolly Green Giant. Spoiler warning for the ending. You have been warned. So it turns out Dad is a plant clone and real Dad is in basement. And he's been trapped down there for a while. So the kids go downstairs, they free their real dad, they beat the plant clone, and all goes back to normal. Except at the very end, the girl, the daughter, finds out, oh no, flowers are talking to me saying that they might be the real dad. Are they the real dad, or is the dad that they have the real dad? Nobody knows, but that's the ending. Thank you, R.L. Stine. They're gonna have to go to therapy about all this. Maybe they can go to a cactus for therapy. He can walk them through it. You know, this story is like if you mixed Invasion of the Body Snatchers with Miracle Grow. This book gave me nightmares every time my dad trimmed the hedges. Goosebumps really said, trust no one, especially your father. He may be a ficus. This episode really freaked me out watching it back in the day, because there was a lot of suspense in that episode. It was very psychological, and you could tell that something was really off with the dad. And they had some of the elements from the book in there, you know, with the hair being all weird, looking like he had leaves growing on his head. But it totally was a very, very bizarre episode, because, you know, the mom was gone and the kids were just trying to figure out what's going on in the basement, and the dad was such an asshole in that. That was kind of a giveaway, you know, in the episode, because I think the kids were like, oh, well, dad's not acting right. There's something wrong with dad. But it ends up wrapping itself up, and then we end up getting a twist ending in that episode as well, involving flowers. This one right here, I didn't read this one back in the day right away. I didn't read this one until many years later. I was captivated by the hand, you know, the door there, so I had to read it. And I remember reading it with my dad. My dad was the one that really got me into reading these books. And I just remember thinking, wow, what a great psychological horror. Then at the very end, it hits you with that body creature feature horror, which is really cool. So if you like stuff like that, I'd highly recommend you check this one out. Well, thanks for watching, and remember, if your basement smells like fertilizer and your dad's growing bark, that's not puberty, that's plant-based horror. Stay out of the basement, because your dad shouldn't be feeding you plant sludge. Here comes monster blood. Because Goosebumps really looked at green slime and said, yeah, let's make that evil too. Viewer beware, you're gonna see me review the scare. This book made me think I was gonna die by Nickelodeon slime, and honestly, I was okay with that. Monster Blood. Goosebumps number 3 dropped in '92 and kicked off the first actual franchise in Goosebumps history. We're talking multiple books in the series, but we'll get to that later. It's got slime, it's got chaos, it's got a can of mess around and find out. Ah yes, the plot to Monster Blood. Kid goes to his great aunt's house. She's half deaf, has a knife, crazy lady. Has a weird little cat around her house. Kid goes to the store, gets some can of Monster Blood. Turns out the Monster Blood eats everything, turns his dog really big, tries to go after the bullies. He has to try to save the day from the Monster Blood. Basically Nickelodeon slime. Let's talk about the cover. Holy Slimer, bro. It's a Monster Blood drive. Oh God, that's bad. I just want to puke. Actually looks like puke. Look at this. All this shit coming down the stairs, man. You know, this would have happened at my house. My dad would have whipped my ass up and down these stairs and made me clean this shit up. It's crazy. I always thought it was weird how they had these rugs that were stuck to the stairs as it went down. You know, they always got really dirty. You know, it was a pain in the ass to clean them. You know, modern day stairs don't have it. You just rip those bitches up. But look at this. This is disgusting, dude. It looks like a night of fucking partying went bad. Just puke all the way up and down the fucking stairs. Spoiler warning for the ending, you have been warned. Turns out that the cat that the great aunt has is actually a witch, and she controls the monster blood. But after Trigger comes back, the dog, by the way, and pushes the witch into the monster blood shrinks back down to normal, the day is saved, the witch disappears, but also the monster blood disappears too. So where did it go? We won't know till Monster Blood 2. What a twist. Some evil lady in a trench coat shows up for like a few pages. The monster blood itself, no explanation, just vibes and violence. It's slime that hates you. No motive, no logic, just jiggly murder. This wasn't a story, this was a warning about consumerism, about toxic behavior, about leaving your dog alone with a haunted can of green ooze. The episode is pretty crazy and over the top. A lot of the acting, especially from the villain, is just really over the top. You should definitely check it out though. It is pretty cool. It actually leads into another episode called More Monster Blood, which actually has nothing to do with the other books. It's just a continuation in that continuity. So Monster Blood was one of those that I actually did read in the very early childhood. This was the second book I ever bought in the series. I was really captivated by the slime coming down the stairs. This one right here really is what made me love the movie The Blob. You know, the original one from the 50s. I also like the one from the 80s as well. Also, Creepshow 2 had an episode I really liked in it, which was The Raft, and that had a blob in it as well that ate the people on the raft. Stuff like that really got me into wanting to watch body horror like that. That's basically what happens in here. And obviously these are books where, you know, even though they allude that they could die, or maybe some people do die sometimes, but they're not super graphic about it necessarily. But if you like crazy looking Nickelodeon slime that has a horror element to it, plus a witch, check this one out. Well, thanks for watching, and remember, if the toy store clerk gives you a can with no label and a side of ominous silence, remember, skip that impulsive buy. Monster Blood, because your childhood needed a gelatin-based menace. Next is Say Cheese and Die. Proof that in Goosebumps, even taking a family photo can ruin your entire life. Viewer beware, you're gonna see me review the scare. Some cameras take your picture, this one takes your future. Ah yes, Say Cheese and Die. Goosebumps book number 4, released in '92, and the reason I flinched every time a Polaroid clicked for like a decade. A haunted camera that predicts awful shit? Welcome to middle grade existential dread. Say Cheese and Die, the plot. Pretty simple. 4 friends break into an abandoned house, they find a camera, they take pictures of things, and it predicts the bad thing that's gonna happen to them. Oh my god, what a blunder, right? Stupid of them. And then there's the cover. Holy shit, skeletons barbecuing. One's flipping burgers like it's Labor Day in hell. I remember thinking, why do they have aprons? Are they dead, or are they just really committed dads? One picture is worth 1,000 screams. Oh my god. I remember seeing this at the book fair and being like, man, that's a fucked up Polaroid picture. That's gotta be the shittiest grill I've ever seen in my life, not gonna lie. And then sitting there drinking, I'm guessing that's a beer. But he has no stomach, so where is it going? There's some hamburgers, and then there's the kids in the background. I just love how they're fully clothed in this. It's really hilarious. But from what I understand, this is all just a dream sequence, so none of this shit really happened. He was just dreaming. Haha, just a dream. That would have been really fucked up if they actually would have put this in the actual book. So, yeah, that's pretty fucking gnarly, honestly. Ah, yes. Spoiler warning for the ending. Be prepared. You've been warned. So basically what ends up happening is they go back to the abandoned house. Turns out that a guy named Spidey, his partner, created this camera, and it's a magic camera that can predict the future. And it can cause terrible things to keep happening the longer it happens. So they end up using the camera against him, and he disappears. They trash the camera, throw it away, and they think that they saved the day. But then an even greater twist happens. The bullies come in, they take a photo of themselves, and they wait for it to develop. End scene. So you don't know what happens to the bullies. Maybe we'll find out and Say Cheese and Die again in the future. Nice twist. And it's electrifying. Never make you want to use a Polaroid ever again. Yes, the camera ruins lives, and instead of burying it, these kids are like, no, let's just take another one. No, it's not curiosity, it's just stupidity. They might as well just call this camera the Insta-Doom 3000. Capture every cursed moment in hellish high-res. The TV episode was awesome because it had a young Ryan Gosling in it, and he did a phenomenal job in this episode, and Y'all know who Ryan Gosling is. He's a great actor. My favorite movie with him is probably Blade Runner 2049. This is the type of book that makes you not want to go anywhere near a camera for a while. This one right here, I didn't read till a couple years after I discovered Goosebumps books. I will say this picture right here was kind of terrifying. And I thought, when I first saw this book, I thought, is this a book about skeletons coming to life and going on a terror spree? I don't know. I just thought this is so creepy having like mannequin skeleton looking things like over here acting like normal humans when I was a kid. So that's why I decided to check this one out. But I will ultimately say that seeing this as a kid, it made me think of Army of Darkness for some reason, because there's a lot of skeletons in that movie. I was kind of a messed up kid. I definitely watched a lot of horror movies and stuff that I probably shouldn't have been watching, but I did anyway. But yeah, this is a good one. You should definitely check this one out if you love a lot of psychological horror mixed with some spiritual, supernatural stuff going on, because the camera is cursed. TV episode has a good twist ending with it as well that's very similar to the book. Well, thanks for watching, and remember, if your camera shows you death instead of your smile, maybe skip the selfie. Say cheese and die, because nothing says childhood like premonitions and pain. Up next is The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb, because nothing says fun vacation like ancient curses and guaranteed bad decisions. Viewer beware, you're gonna see me review the scare. I thought this one was gonna be Indiana Jones for kids. Instead, I got ancient dry heat and sand in places I didn't know existed. Book number 5, The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb, dropped in '93 and taught an entire generation the scariest part of Egypt isn't the curses, it's the parental neglect. Where are the adults? Plot. Basically, kid goes to Egypt during Christmas, hangs out with his uncle, runs around in an abandoned tomb in Egypt and one of the pyramids, and this crazy man chases him around because he thinks that they're disturbing the mummy's curse. And the cover? Just a dusty-ass mummy with glowing red eyes in front of what looks like to be the door to a tomb. Or maybe it's not a door to a tomb, maybe it's something else. Who knows? I wondered looking at this book, what was this mummy like in his previous life? Did he have kids? Was he a famous pharaoh? Or was he just some servant? I hope he had a pretty good life in the previous life, because now he's just coming to the beck and whim of kids. Who will wake the dead? Obviously the kid. That's actually the most nicely wrapped mummy I've ever seen. Those bandages look pretty nice. I bet they're pretty comfy, actually. And I like how the moonlight is glistening off of the mummy. That's kind of cool. Spoiler warning, you've been warned. So if you don't want to watch this, click off this part and skip ahead. The ending, the twist ending for The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. Turns out that this shriveled up mummy's hand that the main character, the kid, had this whole time ended up being an actual mummy's hand that had a curse attached to it. And mummies come out and scare the bad guy away, and they get out scot-free. Bob's your uncle, now you're home. Gotta love that term. You think that the curse is starting to follow him back to the hotel room, but then when you get back to the hotel, there's a knock on the door. He thinks it's the mummy's curse. Turns out it's just his parents back from Alexandria. End of the book. Maybe we'll know in the next mummy book in the series. This isn't a fun adventure. This is child endangerment in the desert. Gabe nearly gets sacrificed in a burning tar pit. Like, Jesus. I'm not really big into mummies. Aside from The Mummy with Brendan Fraser, I never really was into mummies growing up. I always thought mummies were just a weirder version of a zombie, which that's kind of what they are in some ways. Although I think they're a lot more intelligent. They still have their faculties there versus a zombie. I actually never read this book back in the day. I actually read this book recently. I must say it's a pretty cool story. Didn't have a television episode, by the way. It's weird. They did the Return of the Mummy for the episode that they did, but they didn't use this one. It's interesting though, because I was hoping back in the day when I was watching Goosebumps that they were gonna adapt all the books, but I guess they just didn't have the time nor the energy, and maybe it wasn't successful enough. I don't know. I do know that this book right here was definitely pretty good, and I'm glad I read it as an adult because it gave me a good perspective for people who loved books like this and movies like this growing up. I mean, I've seen the original Mummy from the Universal films as well, and it's good for its time, but it's just not something I'm into. If you like mummies, you'll probably like this one. If you don't like mummies, maybe avoid this one. I don't know, and the sequel too if you don't really care for mummies, but we'll talk about that when we get to that book. Yes, Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. Definitely for those who love mummies. Well, thanks for watching, and remember, if your carry-on includes body parts, and your vacation involves getting sacrificed, maybe just stay the fuck home. The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. Because tourism is dead, literally. Next up is Let's Get Invisible. The classic story of friends finding a magic mirror and immediately using it in the dumbest way possible. Viewer beware, you're gonna see me review the scare. Turning invisible sounds cool until the mirror starts gaslighting you. Ah yes, book number 6, Let's Get Invisible, came out in 1993. The one where being invisible feels awesome until it starts sucking out your soul like a ghost with a Dyson. Side effects may include loss of body, loss of self, death by mirror. Whew, no thanks. Ah yes, the plot to Let's Get Invisible. So in Let's Get Invisible, basically a group of friends find a mirror in an attic, and when they turn it on, it turns them invisible. And everything seems cool at first. Oh, let's get invisible, let's go do some wild stuff. And then stuff starts happening. They start becoming invisible longer. They start feeling weird. And then it doesn't become fun anymore. It's not a prank anymore. Something just feels wrong. Ah, and that cover. Max mid-invisibility. Halfway gone in the mirror, looking like he just realized he fucked around too hard, and now his atoms are divorcing him. But seriously though, this mirror has been sitting here a long time. Look at that detail with those cobwebs, that looks really cool. And then he's like, half of his body's missing there. He's like, oh shit, look at me, I'm disappeared. But I'm gonna still keep using the mirror though, cause fuck it. You have this old wooden mirror here. Looks like it's from like, the 1800s or some shit. I'm sure somebody's mom or dad made that shit in their shed or something. Yeah. And then he's wearing the typical, 90s attire. Look at this bowl cut right here. I have one of those too. I can't really say anything. Now you see him, now you don't. Cliche magician shit. More the warning. The twist ending. You have been warned. So what ends up happening is, you probably already guessed it, they're being switched out for evil reflections. And several of the kids have already been replaced. And the real versions are actually trapped in the mirror. And they smashed the mirror, and supposedly they defeated the mirror. Everything goes back to normal, except for the little brother of the main character. He's left-handed, but then he starts throwing right-handed. It's implied that he's one of the mirror reflections. The evil escaped. If your mirror starts whispering and your hands start flickering out of existence, maybe stop flipping the fucking switch. This book messed me up. I stared into every mirror like it was a portal to hell. I thought my reflection was gonna jump out at any second and choke me for leaving the toothpaste on the sink. Yes, the TV episode for this was really good. I liked the music throughout the episode. It was really eerie and creepy. The little brother was really creepy in there too, especially at the end. He's just like one of those characters that you pay attention to because he's left-handed. Even as a kid, I knew something was gonna happen because they made it like known that he was left-handed. The friends are really fun. Some of the VFX in this episode are really cheesy, not gonna lie. But, it's some of that 90s fun. You should definitely check out the episode. So this was a book that I actually did read when I was a kid. In the late 90s, I read this book because I really liked the episode. And really, like I said, the episode really brought me in with the soundtrack. It was really eerie and cool sounding. It made me want to read the book. And when I read the book, I was just really blown away with how good it was. I mean, it added a lot more depth to it reading the book. I think the reason why I was so drawn to it as a kid at the book fair was I liked how this kid was disappearing. And I'm like, I always wanted to be invisible. I liked The Invisible Man growing up. I thought that was a really cool movie. Well, thanks for watching. And remember, if you find a magic mirror in the attic, maybe don't use it like a Snapchat filter. Let's get invisible, because you can't fight what you can't see. Here's Night of the Living Dummy, the book that made an entire generation deeply uncomfortable around ventriloquist dummies. Viewer beware, you're gonna see me review the scare. Ventriloquist dummies are already scary, but give one a tuxedo and a superiority complex, that's a war crime. Night of the Living Dummy, book number 7, dropped in 93, and introduced Slappy, the demon doll who looks like he's about to host an evil game show and then murder the contestants. Ah yes, the plot for Night of the Living Dummy. Two sisters find some creepy ventriloquist dummies. Jealousy and rivalry decide to kick in, and soon one of the dummies starts acting like it's actually alive and it wants control. And that cover, Slappy's just sitting there, mouth wide open like he's mid-murder monologue. And I remember staring at it and thinking, I'm gonna die, and this little evil wooden bastard is gonna euthanize me. It's a pretty basic cover, but I'll tell you what, man, those soulless eyes right there gave me nightmares when I was a kid. This right here was what got me into the evil doll genre. I think I might have saw Child's Play before this when I was a kid, but dude, this right here is absolute nightmare fuel. I mean, look at this guy, dude, and look at that bow tie. I actually have a bow tie like that. Yeah, and he just has a gaping open mouth, and then like he's in this like weird yellowish black void. He walks, he stalks. Yeah, I bet he does. I bet he does. Ah yes, the spoiler warning, you have been warned. The twist is the dummy is brought to life with magic words, and they can't get rid of the dummy. They're enslaved by the dummy. No matter what they do to the dummy, it won't go away. They even try burying it. It comes back. Until it's crushed by a steamroller, and then evil green mist comes out, almost like a fart, only for it to end with the other dummy sitting on the bed waiting for them to come home quietly, and the nightmare isn't over. This wasn't a spooky story. This was gaslighting via puppet. And no one believes the kids because how could a doll do that? I tell you how, black magic and pure fuckery. Introducing Slappy, now available with 50 phrases like I'll ruin your life and why are you crying? Batteries not included, sold separately. This book is the book of nightmares. I mean, seriously, nightmares. Like, I don't know a single person that doesn't know what Slappy is. Slappy is that guy. Slappy is that motherfucker. Don't mess with Slappy. So Night of the Living Dummy did not have a television episode. The sequel, Night of the Living Dummy 2 did, and so did the other ones as well. I did read this one when I was a kid, only because this is one of the first books I read, along with a few others that I've talked about. And we'll get into the other television episodes later. This right here was good because I really loved Child's Play growing up. I know I was a weird kid. I loved Chucky. I thought that shit was funny. I never really thought he was really that dangerous. The whole idea of magic, dolls coming to life, summoning things, that shit's just hilarious to me. It's not scary to me. Like, that stuff doesn't scare me. That's why this was so funny to me. And it's awfully funny because Slappy has become one of the most iconic Goosebumps characters. Even people who don't even know what Goosebumps is, they know who Slappy is. Slappy is just that guy. I mean, he was the villain of the Goosebumps movie. I actually worked on that, by the way, for a couple of days back in the day. Fun fact, if you're really scared of dolls and stuff, this is probably gonna creep you out a little bit, even though you're an adult now. If you really like stuff like that, definitely check it out, because this is iconic. This is what made Goosebumps what it is, in my opinion. Like, he is pretty much the mascot of Goosebumps, besides the skeleton that they have, of course. Definitely give this one a read. Iconic, classic. If you haven't read this one, what are you doing? Go out there and read it. Thanks for watching, and remember, if your doll starts speaking Latin and flipping tables, it's not talent, it's demonic possession. Night of the Living Dummy, because nothing wooden should have that much attitude. Next is The Girl Who Cried Monster, because like the boy who cried wolf, how can you believe a girl that sees a monster stalking her? Viewer beware, you're gonna see me review the scare. She said they were monsters. No one listened, so naturally she took a picture of it and nearly got eaten. Goosebumps number 8, The Girl Who Cried Monster, dropped to 93. Our main character, Lucy, is obsessed with monsters. Obsessed. She won't shut the hell up about them, and finally finds one. A girl who's obsessed with monsters is convinced that her librarian is a monster. And after following him and trying to prove her point and try to figure out if he is a monster, she gets stalked by him several times and almost eaten. And of course nobody believes her. Ah, that cover. The librarian mid-transformation, staring at us like he just realized he'd left the oven on. Also, he's a monster. His eyes are bugging out. His teeth look like they've committed crimes, and the posture says, I bite kids for fun. Library hours closed for nightmares. You know, I always wondered anyway, like, what kind of fucking librarian keeps fucking bugs like that in there and like that anyway? I'd be really suspicious too. Look at her, dude, back there in the corner. All fucking suspicious looking at that asshole. God, dude. I think I had a teacher that looked just like that, and why the fuck is he wearing that? It looks like he's about to go play some cards or something. And then that tie. Oh my God. And it's a shitty fucking shirt. And just his hands are fucking gross looking. But still, like, and then he's got some books laying out right here, dude. Put those fucking things away, dude. And why the hell is it red back there? It's like a fucking gateway to hell, and then it's purple in here. Gotta love it. She's got the monster of all problem. Yeah, she certainly does, doesn't she? Like, look at this guy. You know this guy's a monster, dude. You can't fool me with this shit. I would have known as a kid that that guy's a monster. All right, spoiler warning for The Girl Who Cried Monster. You have been warned. So the plot twist is, you already guessed it, the guy is a monster. The librarian is a monster. But there's an even deeper twist. The whole family are monsters. The mom, the dad, the girl, and the little brother are monsters. And they eat him because they can't have other monsters in town because it's their turf. How about that for a twist? It's like the dude follows her, stalks her to her house, and the adults are still like, she's being dramatic. No, Brenda, she's being stalked by a lizard man with a bug fetish. Introducing Mortman Meals, now with 300% more cricket crunch. Sponsored by Childhood Trauma. You know, I really would like to get some Monster Munch. That's something I would have really liked as a kid. As an adult, ugh, no way. So yeah, growing up, I actually really liked this one. Television episode was great. It was actually my favorite episode of the original series. And if you get a chance to watch it, you should totally watch it. It's really creepy, good stalking from the monster. The monster looks really good. It's really cheesy because it's that 90s camp. Looks pretty good for the time. I'm pretty impressed with it. The problem is I didn't get to watch the episode until much later after it aired because I never could catch it. But there was a marathon that happened one time in like 98 and I actually got to watch the episode. And I was pretty excited about that. But let me tell you something, this is not how I read this book. My experience reading this book back in the 90s as a kid was not this book, it was this. So we're gonna talk about this. So these were the Goosebumps Presents TV episodes of these books. This is how fucking crazy Goosebumps was. They didn't just have like the normal books. They also had the books with the TV episodes that you could read. This is what I read to get into this. I read this first and then a year or two later, I got the actual version of this book. It's crazy that they made these things. When we get further on in the series, I will cover these. I just wanted you to know this was my experience reading The Girl Who Cried Monster. I got this at the Scholastic Book Fair back in the 90s, and I couldn't get enough of it because there's freaking pictures in this thing. To me, this was everything. This was everything to me when I was a kid. I used to sit here and look at this for hours. I'd be like, oh, this episode looks cool. Like, look at this monster. Like, I want to see this. And I never got to watch it. I never got to watch it. I was so disappointed it took me so long to actually watch this. This is my experience. This version is so much better. It adds a lot more depth to it. If you like creature features growing up, like I did, like I love creature features growing up. One of my favorite creature features was Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Also like Chud too. So if you like stuff like that, like critters and stuff, anything with monsters, this is you. You should definitely check this out. I love this. Like it just hits me right here. Well, thanks for watching, and remember, if your librarian eats bugs and your parents aren't surprised, you're probably the monster's dessert. The Girl Who Cried Monster, because sometimes your mom's the bigger threat. Up next is Welcome to Camp Nightmare, where summer camp somehow feels less arts and crafts and more like psychological warfare. Viewer beware, you're gonna see me review the scare. I went to camp to make friends, not to be hunted by monsters, ignored by adults, and losing friends mysteriously. Book 9, Welcome to Camp Nightmare. Dropped in 93 in a master class, and wow, maybe I shouldn't have went to the woods. Billy gets sent to a summer camp where the rules are unclear. Yes, the plot for Welcome to Camp Nightmare. A kid goes to a summer camp where the campers disappear. Phones in the mail are fake. The counselors are just assholes and just don't respond to anything that happens. And a single wolf-like creature named Saber stalks the entire campground. And then everybody just pretends like everything's just fine, like nothing is going on. That kid's not really gone. What are you talking about? There is no Saber. Ah yes, and the cover. Green tint glowing like Satan's nightlight, and some spooky-ass shadow about to unzip your soul. It screams, don't you dare sleep here. I'd never slept in a tent like this growing up, by the way. This tent is crazy. Literally just a bug cover. There is no like zipper or anything right here. And then what the hell is going on with this thing right here, man? What kind of creature is that? I can't even really tell. You can't even barely make it out, but it's definitely terrifying. And then the sky looks like, you know, the bowels of hell. And then what the hell is this green light coming out of here? That's definitely not human. There's nothing human about this book at all. It's the little camp of horrors, like the little shop of horrors, I guess. But you can't tell me they don't see that fucking hand right there. When I was going camping, if I would have saw something like that, I would have noticed it right away. Dude, bugs are gonna get in there, dude. That looks terrible. Like, I hate bugs, dude. I really do. Spoiler warning, you have been warned. For Camp Nightmare, you have been warned. Here it comes. So the twist reveals that the entire camp was just a setup. It was an extreme test ran by scientists. Every kid going missing was part of the setup. The monsters, part of the setup. The snakes, part of the setup. All the danger was staged. And then the final reveal shows that he passed the test. Billy passed the test. And where is Billy going? He's going to a planet called Earth. That's right, folks. We're on an alien planet. That's a big twist, right? I loved that when I was a kid. I couldn't believe that. And supposedly Earth is hostile, maybe even primitive. Imagine that. Book is psychological warfare for 10-year-olds. There's no logic, just fear, confusion, and bug spray. Welcome to space travel training. Here's your fake summer trauma simulator. If you survive, congrats. You're going to an alien planet, no questions asked. Interplanetary camp approved. Television episode was great. It was a two-parter. Along with The Girl Who Cried Monster, I would say Welcome to Camp Nightmare is one of my favorite episodes from the original series as well. I can't really say enough about it. I grew up, during a time where going to camp was very popular in the 90s, right? Got some cheesy moments because it's a 90s show, obviously. Turns out, in the original one, that it's all just a ploy. And he's going to Earth. They even show Earth up in the sky. So I thought that was really weird though as a kid, because I'm like, what planet are they on? Are they on Venus or Mars or something? Weird, right? What planet are they on to be able to see Earth that big in the sky? My experience with this as a kid, like I said, going to summer camp was really popular, and I'm one of those kids. I never went to summer camp back in the 90s. I heard it was really cool. I really wish I would have gotten to do it. I played a lot of sports growing up, so when I went to camp, I went to basically football camp and stuff. I didn't go to, the most I did was a day camp, and that was usually at some kind of rec center. But most of the time I stayed at home, and I hung out with my friends during the summer. I always wanted that experience of going to a summer camp and actually being at a camp for 2 or 3 weeks. And I never got that as a kid, but I sure as shit watched a lot of movies about it. Heavyweights is one of my favorite movies of all time from the 90s, and that movie's hilarious. And it's funny because they're going to a fat camp. Any kind of movies, like Ernest Goes to Camp, love that movie. By the way, Ernest movies are great. I saw this at the book fair in the late 90s, and I picked it up and I read it and I liked it. Obviously the book is more in depth than the episode, like I always say. But yeah, that was my experience. I really craved wanting to go to summer camp and never did. If you have really warm memories, or if you really want to know what it's like going to summer camp, this is the one, but obviously not too much, because obviously you're not going to lose friends and then creatures are going to attack you. I mean, maybe they will. Maybe a bear will get you. I don't know. Summer camp, but in hell on an alien planet. Check it out. Well, thanks for watching, and remember, if your summer camp feels like a murder cult, it's probably just a space program. Welcome to Camp Nightmare, where the only thing that is real is your breakdown. The ghost next door. Because Goosebumps knew even your own neighborhood could feel a little off after dark. Viewer beware, you're gonna see me review the scare. I came here for Goofy Ghost. What I got was a spiritual gut punch about existence and grief way before the Sixth Sense. Thanks, R.L. Stine. Book number 10, The Ghost Next Door, dropped in 93. Boy, was this quite the twist of a book involving neighbors and who's who and what's what. And what the hell, really. The plot to The Ghost Next Door. A lonely girl is convinced all summer that the new kid that moved in is a ghost. None of the people that are there see him or seem to notice him at all, or even notice her, which is oddly bizarre. And then she tries to figure out what's really going on here. Is he really a ghost or what? And this cover, iconic. You got a totally normal front door scene until you realize the feet on the welcome mat are ghosting out like, hi, I'm here for lemonade and unresolved trauma. And that mysterious kid in the doorway, one glowing halfway away from saying, you can't sit with us, you're non-corporeal. As a kid, I stared at the cover like, am I already dead too, or is this just anxiety again? I would definitely slam that door in whatever the fuck that is face, and I would not even feel bad about it. I'd be like, look, I gotta go, dude. I see that you're invisible. I see you got some really bad issues going on here. I gotta go. Look at that 90s ass tile on the floor there. It's probably not tile though. It's probably linoleum or vinyl or some stupid shit. That was very popular, vinyl flooring back in the day. And that welcome mat looks so weird. It's really long, really short. God, dude. There's a strange new kid on the block. 90s reference there. I would definitely be shitting my pants if I opened the door and saw something like that. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Casper a little bit. Except for Casper had that thing coming out of his ass instead of having feet. So the twist. You have been warned. The twist for The Ghost Next Door. So it turns out we get Sixth Sensed. The girl ends up being the ghost the whole time. She didn't even know she was dead. Her and her family died in a fire in the house years earlier, and she's being stalked by a shadow creature or ghost or something. Don't really know what it is. Tries to teach her the ways, right, of how to be a shadow creature, but while he's distracting her, he's gonna switch places with the boy. She foils his plans and saves the little boy, and then she ends up going to the afterlife, and then the living world forgets her forever. Hi, I'm Hannah. You may not know this, but you could be dead. If people are ignoring you and your house is missing from Google Maps, call the ghost hotline now. 1-800-I'm-DEAD. I wonder if Hannah goes on dates. Probably not. She wouldn't be dating other ghosts, but hell, she didn't even know she was a ghost. She got sixth sensed. Get your heart out, M. Night Shyamalan. This is an episode I didn't really appreciate as a kid. It's actually really in depth, and this is before The Sixth Sense, so this is pretty cool, actually. Two-parter episode, kind of has a bit of an eerie Indiana kind of vibe to it. Love that. Actually really sad, honestly. It's an episode that, as an adult, watching it as an adult, it actually really hits you right in the feels, because it's sad that she doesn't even know she's dead. In the episode, it's pretty much the same kind of conclusion. She reunites with her family and all that, and it's good. You should watch it. My experience with this as a kid is my buddy actually had this book. I didn't have this book as a kid, but he traded me this book for Welcome to Dead House, and we switched them out, and I read this and gave it back to him. I never really like I said, I never fully appreciated the story with it, because it's very complex, even for a kid's story. If you want a really sappy story that's sad, this is a good one. R.L. Stine, dang man, hit me right in the feels with this one. So kudos to you. Well, thanks for watching, and remember, if no one's texted you back in a while, maybe you're not being ghosted, maybe you're just a ghost. The ghost next door, because death is confusing and so are neighbors. Thanks for watching, and if you want more Goosebumps, new episodes of Radness Rewind drop every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, check out all these other cool things I do on the channel. If you love anything millennial and nostalgic, I got you covered.